Okay, so Matt Barrows of The Athletic shedded some not so positive insight about Dre Greenlaw's future with the Niners. So he went on to KNBR today and was asked about, Dre Greenlaw and his future with the 49ers. And he said, quote unquote, I think the chances are better than not that Dre Greenlaw is gone. My sense is that Dre Greenlaw wants to run his own shop. He wants to get the opportunity of kind of running his own shop. And basically, what Barrows is saying here is Dre Greenlaw wants to go to a team where he is the guy, right? Like, with the Niners, it's Fred Warner. Um, but he says that Greenlaw wants to go to a team where he's the guy, where he's not kind of, in the shadow of Fred Warner, which I could absolutely see why Greenlaw might think that. However, I mean, I think Greenlaw knows just as much as anybody that, you know, him and Fred Warner together are the best linebacker duo in all of football. So to me, like, I don't. Again, he's saying that his sense is that Greenlaw wants to go to a team and kind of be the linebacker one with the respected team. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Greenlaw would absolutely love the opportunity to be the guy within, the defense and the linebacker core, but I think he loves playing alongside Fred Warner. Fred Warner and his wife are really tight with Greenlaw and his wife, and I don't like to me that I don't necessarily like. I'm not with that. I don't think that's truly what Greenlaw wants. I think deep down Greenlaw wants to stay with the Niners. I think that he knows how important he is to this defense. I think the 49ers know how important he is to this defense clearly. Shanahan has talked about doing everything that he can to, you know, keep Dre Greenlaw, but they can only do so much because obviously they have some other impending free agents like Talanoa Hufanga. Um, and it's going to be tough for the Niners to swing Brock Purdy, Greenlaw, and Talanoa Hufanga. I mean, all of these guys could get pretty hefty contracts. I guess in particular, Greenlaw and Hufanga could get pretty decent sized contracts. However, in my opinion, I think Greenlaw, I think it's in the best interest if Greenlaw kind of signs like a prove it deal. I don't necessarily think that he has anything to prove because I think he's proved it, but I think it's more so about like his injury history. So I think if the Niners can get Greenlaw back on a 1 to 2 year prove it deal, 1 to 2 year prove it deal, um, Greenlaw could come back healthy. He could flourish for the next 1 to 2 years, however long the Niners signed him for. And then he could obviously earn and play himself into a massive contract following that. So I don't like to call it a prove it deal because I think Greenlaw has done enough to get a contract, but I think it's more so like proving being able to stay healthy, if that makes sense. So I guess in a way, technically, it would be called a prove it deal. However, I mean, here's the thing. The Niners own $48+ million in salary cap space. And obviously, they're not going to be able to afford getting into a bidding war for Dre Greenlaw, especially with Purdy's contract extension kind of looming out there. So, I don't know, man. I mean, I definitely think there could be a team out there without a doubt that offers Greenlaw a lot more money and a longer term contract than the 49ers will. And I think that's where some of this concern comes in with him potentially not being able to return. But there's also been some reports out there, and I don't know how true they are, but there's been some reports out there about guys like Fred Warner restructuring his contract to kind of create space for the Niners to bring back some of these key pieces. And if there's anybody that has been adamant on the Niners re-signing Greenlaw, it's been Fred Warner. Fred Warner has talked about how, he isn't the player he is on his own. And Greenlaw has a lot to do with, Fred Warner's rise to the top of the NFL as the best linebacker in the NFL. And I think, knowing that Warner wants him back, I think Robert Saleh being back in San Francisco as the DC, I think he knows how important Greenlaw is to bring back. Fred Warner was asked at the Pro Bowl about how important it is to bring back Greenlaw, and he mentioned that Robert Saleh is very adamant that the 49ers need to bring him back. So I haven't really been like too worrisome that the Niners may not bring back Greenlaw, but this report kind of puts me on edge because it puts things in perspective. And while I do think Greenlaw would, you know, want to be a linebacker one for an NFL team, I also think, if he gets the right contract with the Niners, I think he would prefer to just stay put. Um, so again, I obviously don't like to hear this news. But Matt Barrows is a guy that has a pretty good pulse on everything 49ers related. And I think the biggest thing with this is if you know if the sense is that Greenlaw will not be playing for San Francisco in 2025, it's going to be a massive blow to this defense. I think everybody's seen last year how worse the 49ers defense was without Dre Greenlaw. And obviously there were some other key injuries too that didn't help the Niners, but Greenlaw's injury forced the 49ers to sign the quitter himself, Devondre Campbell. And we know how that played out during the season and how that ended. I mean, he was arguably one of the worst linebackers that has ever put on a 49ers uniform. And then, I mean, obviously, just knowing how he came into that Rams Thursday night game towards the back half of the season and how he had like a dozen tackles in the first half. I mean, the dude just plays with a complete different energy than your average, linebacker in the NFL. And again, I mean, I think Greenlaw's a prototype linebacker, just like Warner is. He can cover. He can play sideline to sideline. He's a big hitter. Um, he's everything that you want in a linebacker. So again, I mean, I don't like hearing this. This definitely isn't a positive outlook on Dre Greenlaw's future, but at the same time, I'm not getting too down because I definitely think the Niners, looking at some of these impending free agents, probably have Greenlaw up there with like the one that they absolutely have to keep aside from Brock Purdy. I think when it comes to a guy like Talanoa Hufanga, I think there's a very good chance of Hufanga walking, but the Greenlaw situation's different to me because I definitely think the Niners really, really want him back. And I know money talks, and I know that, there's going to be some other suitors for Greenlaw out there, but one of the suitors that I've seen kind of building some momentum going into free agency is the LA Rams. And how bad would it suck if the 49ers weren't able to sign Greenlaw to an extension and he left in free agency and went to a team like the Rams who would see the 49ers two times a year. And I don't think the 49ers want to see that happen. And I think that's why they will do absolutely everything in their power to keep Greenlaw around. But again, I mean, this whole report that came out today, again, it's not a positive outlook on the Greenlaw situation, but I'm also not going to get too down because I definitely think that Saleh, Shanahan, and this organization, with some of the players on this defense, are going to be strong advocates to bring back Greenlaw. And if that means giving him a little more money on a 1-year prove-it deal or something like that, I think the expectation is that he will get a 1-year prove-it deal, or maybe like a shorter-term deal, a 2-year deal max maybe. But there might be a team out there that wants to pay Dre Greenlaw big money over 4 years. And, in that case, the 49ers then enter themselves into a bidding war that they're likely not going to win. So they need to really sit down with Greenlaw, and, figure out figure out if he's open to a kind of a 1-year prove it deal. The 49ers may have already kind of sat down with him and talked about some of this stuff, but Greenlaw outside of Brock Purdy, which I'm not worried about Brock Purdy getting re-signed. But Greenlaw is the most important impending free agent for the 49ers to re-sign. He just simply is. I mean, the energy that he brings to this team, how he bolsters this defense with the way he plays and how he makes it so much better than what they are without him. I think it's safe to say that this is a guy that you want around for a long time in the red and gold. And again, I mean, I'm sure the Niners are going to do everything in their power to keep him, but you know, again, there's going to be some suitors out there, and I would just hate to see Greenlaw not be re-signed with the Niners, and then he ends up going to a team like the LA Rams. And, the LA Rams already have a pretty good young rising defense with Fisk and Jared Verse, their draft picks last year. And if they get a guy like Greenlaw, that takes their defense to a whole nother level. And I definitely do not want to be playing against that defense twice a year. That's one thing I do know for sure. So, we will see what happens. Let me know what you guys think of this report in the comments down below. Again, it's Matt Barrows of The Athletic reporting that he thinks it's basically more likely than not Greenlaw leaves in free agency and goes elsewhere. Obviously, I mean, this offseason, there's going to be some tough decisions to make. But Dre Greenlaw leaving San Francisco is one that I'm not going to expect. And if it happens, I'm going to be pretty caught off guard by the most part. So I still think he's going to re-sign with the Niners. I mean, I think a lot of the fans overwhelmingly expect the Niners to re-sign Greenlaw, but keep in mind that there are linebacker needy teams out there. And if he goes to a team like the Rams, really wherever he goes, he's going to be like the linebacker one there. So if the report, if Matt Barrows is pretty accurate when he's talking about like Greenlaw wants to be the linebacker one and he wants to kind of run his own shop, it wouldn't, I guess, surprise me if he left in that regard. I don't think that's true. Again, Matt Barrows just said that there's a sense he's getting from this situation that he wants to run his own shop. So that's not saying that like he heard something within the organization that's kind of pointing towards that. It's just more so kind of how he feels on the situation. And if he's accurate, we're probably in trouble because there's going to be some other teams out there that are going to do whatever it takes to get a guy like Dre Greenlaw. So again, let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below. Like I said, I'm not going to be prepared seeing Greenlaw go if that's what happens. But again, the Niners have some tough decisions to make. And, number one, they got to sign Purdy, and then they have to figure out what's next. And Greenlaw's definitely a guy that you cannot let walk. You got to do everything in your power to bring this guy back. So let me know your guys' thoughts on this in the comments down below. As always, go Niners. I'll see you guys in the next one.